Hey everyone, and welcome to 2021. Can you actually believe that we made it through that horror show that was last year? And unfortunately, it looks like there's still going to be a little bit of this COVID-ness kicking around. So all of the dates and stuff that have been talked about in the late part of last season and the early part of this year before we've gone racing are definitely going to be what they called liquid dates. So I do think we're going to be chopping and changing and moving around a little bit. But for now, we've just got everything crossed that we can go racing. I hope all you guys are all good out there, that you managed to actually get some kind of break and some kind of holiday and some kind of reboot. I know, it really wasn't enough of a holiday this year. Everyone was still kind of on edge from the end of last year. But no matter what, we were able to crown champions last year. We got through a racing season and everyone behind the scenes, up front and at the coalface played the games. So we are good to go. For myself here at Hollywood Hills and the guys that I work with at LiveX, we are pumped to be able to continue doing what we're doing. And no matter what, we're going to be able to keep Hollywood Hills pumping and rolling and making sure you guys stay entertained. Thanks for hanging tough with us. Thanks for all our supporters and our partners for hanging tough with us the whole way through last year. And we're going to just do whatever we can to bring you the best product and the best reports the whole way through 2021. With that said, it's a pleasure to announce that we're continuing our working relationship with a ton of our partners that have stayed on board. Longtime partners, 421 Racing, the guys that do a lot of prep work out in the West Rand, and it's going to be fun to work with those guys once again. We're going to be going out to the workshop and seeing what toys they've got to play with for 2021. So thanks for Gideon and Brian and Marty and all the guys and girls from 421 for hanging tough with us for that. We've got Simply Gardens, and we really cultivated, it's a great word as well, we cultivated a fantastic working relationship with Grant and the Simply Gardens crew. You can see I'm still branded up here, and we're going to continue working with those guys as long as we possibly can. Wonderful people and a great working relationship, and they were so supportive of everything that we were doing from last year. For the Farm Jam and Vance Racing crew, of course, we want to help them grow their racing fraternity up there in Middelburg. It's a very localized area, and we've loved working with those guys for the last couple of seasons. I've personally worked with them for something like 5 years now, and for me and the production crew, we've been working with them for at least 12 months. They're looking to obviously put out a new calendar, and we'll get to their calendar in just a moment, but for now, we say that we are going to be working with them and promote their racing dates and their venues to obviously make sure that they get some good numbers going up there as well. At the latter part of last year, we saw SPX Logistics come on board, not just with Hollywood Hills, but also as our production partner for the GXCCs. And it looks like we're going to be carrying on with those guys as well. So SPX and the entire Hurston family, thanks for you guys for coming on board once again. And then obviously at the end of last year, we had AMP CNC Academy. We did a little bit of private work with those guys, and they also came on board for the last 3 rounds of the GXCCs to assist with our production costs. Unfortunately, they're going to be putting their money into different areas for 2021, but we will no doubt be working with them again in the future. But it's just our platform here to say thanks to Ludwig and Stephen Dupree over there at CNC. Thanks guys, we really appreciate it. We can't wait to work with you once again in the future, and very excited to see any kind of projects that you've got coming around the bend. So that's our high fives and the people that are going to be working with us for 2021. Let's take a look at some of the calendars. So obviously here at Hollywood Hills, GXCC has been a big focus point for us since the very beginning, and Hollywood Hills has now been going for over 5 seasons. GXCCs remains our focus point, and these guys have already put out their provisional calendar towards the end of last year. In fact, it came out before we even went and did our end of season prize giving. So these were the dates that came out, but we're going to be seeing more of the venues get announced as time rolls on. For now, the one that is set at the moment and what all the prep work is going into is Rustenburg out there on the 13th of February. So that's the day before Valentine's Day, classic racing day event. So make sure you book something for the day before or the day after to make sure the wives, girlfriends, and mothers are all looked after. But that's really going to be our first point of focus. And then as the calendar moves and evolves and we start seeing more venues, we'll obviously relay that information to you. That's going to be a big focus point for us, for me talking on the mic, getting prepped and doing a lot of Hollywood Hills interviews building up to that, as well as getting ourselves good to go for the full production with the LiveX crew. Also, at the end of last year, you noticed on Hollywood Hills, we did a little teaser working with the guys at EWXC. We showed them what we could do at their final round out at Heidelberg, and it went well by all accounts. We're still working with them to try and see if budget is going to be a key factor or whether they're going to be able to bring another sponsor on board to actually help us with the production costs for that. But they've already put their date out as the 30th of January. So that's very early. It's not extremely early, but it's very early in the year, especially with what is potentially going to come around the corner at us. We know the president's going to be standing up very soon. So everyone's kind of on tenterhooks at the moment, myself and the lads included, to see if we're going to be able to go forward with these early dates. But it is out there, it is booked for their first event out on the 30th of January. So that should be the first racing wheel that turns for the year. I had spoken to Leon and Melissa, and they were looking at potentially going racing in February, but they're erring on the side of caution, and I completely understand where they're coming from. So they're going to be putting out their first Farm Jam event, and that's going to be looking at the 13th of March. So hopefully by then everything is good, alles is mooi, and we can play on from that point of view. And as their calendar evolves, they're going to be looking at a 6-round championship once again. We'll be working with them and bringing you more and more information. Can't wait to go up for the Farm Jams. They're so cool, very much a smaller scale GXCC, nice little sprint laps of about 30 Ks for the big guys, about 10 Ks for the juniors. So very cool, very farm style, and always you know exactly what you're going to get when you go up to the Farm Jam. So it's going to be very fun to work with those guys on that front. And then some of the dates to just keep ourselves aware of. Obviously the South African Cross Country National Championship, that's where the guys are looking for the big number 1 plates to be crowned national champions. So their season actually starts relatively late. It's going to be going deep into, I think, the end of February. It's going to be down in KZN. Jolivet is a bit of a classic racing venue out there it's a little bit of cane, a little bit of forest. It's quite deep. It's on the other side of Maritzburg. So we're going to see if we can get down there and see if we can bring you some production elements from that event. But for now, that's one to just keep an eye on in the calendar. It's going to be the first round, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be managing their national championship. Because remember, last year they tried to do something which was called the Super Series, and of course with the COVID situations, that didn't come into play. So this is going to be a pure off-road cross-country championship racing series with the first round touted to be at the end of February. Staying with the nationals as well, we're looking at seeing if we can get some coverage going for the national enduros, which also have an element of extreme enduro to them. So it looks to me like it's going to be a 4-round championship for national enduros and a 4-round championship for extreme enduros. Some of the dates look a little bit weird at the moment, so obviously the guys are working hard just behind the scenes to make sure that they can get everything running smoothly at the moment, to see if they can obviously get their championship running nicely. But we will keep you up to date as that comes down the pipe. For now, it's that standard option first couple of weeks of January where no one kind of knows what's going on. Even ourselves here at Hollywood Hills, we've got a couple of events booked. We've got 1 or 2 question marks. We've got 1 or 2 things penciled in and hardly anything penned in because it's such a fluid situation at the moment. All I can tell you is we are locked and loaded and good to go. And no matter what comes around the corner, we're going to make sure we bring you all the information as it comes down the pipe, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And remember, we've got all that footage to work with from last year because we covered the first 2 racing rounds of the GXCCs. Then we followed that up with the last 3 racing rounds. We also covered a little bit of other little standalone events like the EWXCs and stuff like that. So we've got plenty to work with. And if we have to go into a lockdown situation, please say we don't. But if we do have to, we are ready to react like that, and we'll be able to go and talk to maybe a couple of the new champions, a couple of the guys that came close to winning the championship. There'll be some stories there, and there's tons of stories that have happened in the off season towards the end of last year. A couple of big names getting signed to big teams, a couple of new flavors and new manufacturers coming in. So there is plenty and plenty and plenty to report upon. For now, all I'm doing at the moment is I am glued to the internet, making sure that our boy Ross Branch is doing a good job, and he is. He's doing an absolute belter of a job. By the time that this airs, we are going to be probably 3, maybe 4 days away from the end of Dakar. And remember, week number 1, Ross ended week number 1 after 6 racing stages in a magical 4th place. I know the 7th stage was a horror show for him where he had that big crash. It actually wasn't a big crash. It was quite a small crash, but it cost him a lot of time. And he had to spend the whole day picking up the pieces of his event. He did manage to get himself back up to 27th on the road, heading into stage number 4. So that's good. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll report back on that next week when we'll obviously wrap up Dakar. For now, this is just Hollywood Hills, Matt Smith and the boys from Livex saying, welcome back guys, 2021 is here and we are with you for the whole journey, no matter what. See you out there.